Okay, so Apple just had its Glowtime event where it unveiled the new iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, as well as AirPods 4, some new colors for the AirPods Max, the Apple Watch Series 10, and they also announced that the AirPods Pro 2 will receive a software update that will allow them to work as hearing aids, which is awesome. But in today's video, I really want to focus on the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. Because, first of all, well, it was sort of an underwhelming upgrade, at least in my opinion. I mean, the regular 16 actually saw some good improvements. Now it supports way faster charging at 45 watts at the same speed as the 16 Pros. It comes with the A18 processor, which will allow for Apple Intelligence. It comes with the action button, which it didn't have before. It was reserved for the Pros. And it got the new camera control button, which is handy for photography. And some other honorable mentions would be the upgraded ceramic shield, so it's now stronger than before, and the repositioning of the rear camera, which does give it a new look. It's actually very reminiscent of the iPhone X design, but I honestly think it looks way better than the diagonal arrangement that the 15 had. So the regular 16 is actually pretty solid. Now the 16 Pro, on the other hand, didn't see much of an improvement. It did get the new camera control button, a faster processor, but it's not like the previous one was slow at all. And the iPhone 15 Pro can run Apple Intelligence, so unlike the iPhone 16, which is going to be the only base iPhone that supports it, the iPhone 15 Pro actually does support Apple Intelligence and will get most of the features that Apple talked about during the keynote. There are some cool improvements, like I mentioned before. They both got faster wired charging and also faster wireless charging. They come with Wi-Fi 7. The titanium finish looks a little bit better in my opinion. It doesn't have that brushed look. In the renders and in the hands-on videos, it looked pretty nice. And the new desert titanium color, thank God it's not brown. It's actually a very pretty color. It's like a gold, maybe rose gold sort of vibe. I don't know. I didn't just see it in person, to be sure. But it might actually be my favorite color for this year. Unlike the previous natural titanium, which I absolutely hated back then and I still do now. The ultra-wide camera finally got an upgrade, and that's a big deal. Not even just for ultra-wide shots, but actually for close-up shots. Because I currently have an iPhone 14 Pro, and it has a 48 megapixel camera, very similar to the one that's on the 16. But the thing is that when I upgraded from my iPhone 12 to the iPhone 14 Pro, I actually saw a downgrade in one area, which was taking photos of objects that were up close. Because the iPhone 12's camera could focus at a much lower distance than the iPhone 14 Pro. So the 14 switches to the ultra-wide camera to take those close-up shots, and the quality would downgrade significantly, and that was super annoying. So now with the upgrade to 48 megapixels, that's not going to be a problem anymore, or at least not as much of a problem anymore. And I think that's pretty much it. Maybe there are a couple features that I'm skipping here. I'm not digging into Apple Intelligence just yet, because that's kind of the thing that's bothering me the most about the 16 and 16 Pro release. And I'll explain why right now. So Apple is selling those devices with Apple Intelligence as their top features. Like they were the phones made from the ground up for Apple Intelligence. And first of all, that's a ridiculous statement. No, they were not. They're 99% the same as last year's phones. They just got a new processor, okay? So tone it down, Apple. But the worst part is that these phones don't actually ship with Apple Intelligence. They will ship with iOS 18, which does not include any Apple Intelligence features at all. And then on 18.1, which is going to come around a month later, they will finally include some of the features that they announced. But only the boring ones, like photo cleanup, writing tools, etc. But all of that cool contextual stuff where you ask, oh, when did my mom send me the photos of the tickets for this concert? Can you find them for me? Like, this stuff is not coming anytime soon. The visual search that they announced is also not coming at first. It's going to come in a software update. So Apple is selling these phones based on something that doesn't actually exist yet, or at least is not accessible to people yet, which feels like they're fooling customers. I mean, people who don't pay too much attention to the fact that those features are not coming with iOS 18, and they buy an iPhone 16 or 16 Pro and they're expecting to have those features, are going to be really pissed. Of course, it's written in the tiny letters in the videos and everywhere else so that Apple protects themselves. But it does feel like they are fooling customers. And for the ones who do know that it's coming later, it's still really weird to buy a product based on a promise, in my opinion. And then, to make things worse, Apple Intelligence is only coming in US English at first. Apple said it plans to expand it to other English-speaking countries until the end of the year. And then next year, they will slowly release it in languages such as Chinese, Spanish, and a few more. But the truth is that most people are actually not going to get their hands on Apple Intelligence for a long time, unless you speak one of those languages. For example, I live in Brazil, and there was no mention of any release of Apple Intelligence in Brazilian Portuguese. So if I buy the iPhone 16, it's actually pretty unlikely that I'll get to use Apple Intelligence before the iPhone 17 is released. It could even take longer. I have no idea when Apple's going to release this. Siri took a long time to speak Portuguese, so maybe we'll get Apple Intelligence with the iPhone 20. So then the main selling point of the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro is kind of gone. I mean, I can use it in English, and it's going to be useful to some extent, but it's not going to be super useful because I don't know if, for example, it will actually be able to read things and understand them when they're written in Portuguese and they're just not going to accept commands in Portuguese, or if it just reads and tries to understand stuff that's in English. So if I ask Siri to find tickets for a concert, but everything is written in Portuguese, maybe it won't be able to find them. I don't know yet. And that really pisses me off. Apple is so far behind on the AI game. To be very honest, most of the features that they announced with Apple Intelligence are not new, and they don't really innovate on top of what other companies have done, like Google, Samsung, Microsoft. The only thing that they have going for them is this contextual thing, which is not coming yet. I mean, Apple should have been able to speed this up. I really feel like this year's software upgrades were super held back because they probably had the entire team working on Apple Intelligence. iOS 18 is a pretty boring upgrade, honestly. Yes, it lets you customize the phone a little bit more, but even though customization is good, it's not actually useful. So iOS 18 doesn't include many useful features. Although it finally includes one that I really asked for. Well, I asked for something slightly different, but Apple did something even better, which is that now parts of your iPhone are locked to your account if you use activation lock. So if you don't disable Find My, someone who steals your phone is not going to be able to use those parts. And that is such a relief and something that Apple should have done a long time ago. But other than that, iOS 18 is a boring upgrade. iPadOS 18, I don't even have words to describe, like they didn't add any exclusive features to make good use of the iPad screen. Sure, math notes is cool, but it also works on the iPhone. But all of that would have been fine if they had been able to make Apple Intelligence groundbreaking and, most importantly, available. Because right now, what Apple is selling is vaporware. We don't know if these things are going to work. We don't know when they're going to come. We don't even know if they're going to come, because Apple has announced things in the past that never came to life, such as AirPower. So all of that left me pretty underwhelmed. I'm pretty bummed out. It feels like Apple is short-staffed or something. I just expected a little bit more. Now, that's not to say that the lack of Apple Intelligence makes the upgrade not completely worth it. For example, Since I'm coming from an iPhone 14 Pro, I might upgrade to the 16 Pro just because the sum of the features of the 15 Pro with the 16 Pro actually accounts for a reasonable upgrade. So I would be getting USB-C, the upgrades to the ultra-wide, the new titanium finish, and the camera control button is actually kind of cool. Plus, I would get the action button that I don't currently have. So those are my impressions, my thoughts about this event, about the devices. One thing I would like to mention as well is that I think the camera control button is not just a gimmick that Apple added. It may seem a little gimmicky, but I think it's actually intended to try to make people shift from recording vertical video into recording horizontal video back again. Because social networks such as TikTok and Instagram have kind of made us move towards vertical video. And in order for Apple to promote the Vision Pro and give people who do buy the Vision Pro a better experience, they really need people to start recording those spatial videos, which is just not going to work if the cameras are stacked vertically. They want to try to change their customers' behaviors. Now, we'll see how that works out. I think it's going to be pretty difficult, but who knows? Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It's going to help this channel a lot. Also, leave in the comments down below what you thought about the event, about the upgrades, if you think it's worth upgrading or not, and what phone will you be upgrading from. And I'll see you in the next video. See ya!